Hey guys, Tim Bratz here. Welcome to another episode of Spilling the Beans. I'm sitting down today with my buddy Russ Scheider, who's here in Charleston. Got to meet Russ a couple of years ago. He runs a local Real Estate Investors Association meetup, along with a couple of other friends of mine. And he's just a great guy. As good as he is in business, he's got, I think, 5 or 6 different businesses that are humming along in different levels and different phases, and very automated while he's working on a couple of them actively. A lot of the other ones are pretty passive and residual for him. So I'm going to sit down with Russ, talk about his businesses, talk about how he's been able to grow. I know a big hurdle for a lot of people is how do I automate business number 1 in order to grow business number 2? So I'm going to specifically ask Russ how he's been able to do that, and hopefully you get a ton of value out of it. So as you get takeaways, put them in the comment section below. Appreciate you. Enjoy this episode of Spilling the Beans. Russ Scheider, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How are
Dude,
you?
I'm excited for you to be here, man. Yeah, you too. Yeah. So obviously you're in Charleston, I'm in Charleston, and we haven't been able to make this work because I usually film on Wednesdays, but
yes.
And you got a whole bunch of commitments and stuff on Wednesdays. But finally, we were able to sit down, make this work in the new year. Excited to sit down with you, buddy.
Absolutely.
So, all right, we were talking offline. I know you got rolling in real estate about 8 years ago, right? Give me a little bit of a background on what your journey has looked like in the past 8 years, being in real estate and being an entrepreneur and business owner.
Sure, absolutely. So 8 years ago, I was a residential designer and worked with people on remodeling their houses.
Yep.
And my ex-wife was looking for an entrepreneurial venture and dove into this. And within 3 or 4 months, she replaced my income. And I said, I had a coach, and my coach put his foot in my rear end and said, "You're out.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that anymore. You're in this."
Yep.
And they kind of kicked me out into this world. And then from there, it was, it's all forward.
I love it. I love it. So you've been flipping and wholesaling for the past 8 years. Started the brokerage, about 2 years ago?
That's right.
And I know you got your hands on a lot of things now. Tell me, what made you want to get into different businesses? I think you said you had about 4 businesses.
Yeah.
Up to a couple years ago. Now you have 6 different businesses.
Right.
I want to really dive into how have you been able to automate each one of those businesses.
Right.
Who did you put in place? What systems did you put in place? What procedures did you put in place? What people did you put in place to allow you to grow each different business? And do you think that you're pulled in different directions, or are things humming along the way that you want them to be? And I know a lot of people, they get involved in real estate and they are the solopreneur, or they are the driver of the business. You don't necessarily have to be that person, right? And you're not that person in a couple of your businesses. So let's talk about that transition. So tell me about what entrepreneurship was early on.
Sure.
when you owned a job kind of thing, right? And now that you own a business, how did you make that transition? I think that's a big hurdle for a lot of people. How do I get past that?
It was a big hurdle for me. And so when we started, we were strictly flippers. We're flippers, we flip. That's all we do.
Yep.
So when you're flipping houses, it's a good paycheck. It's a $30, $40, $50, $100,000 paycheck, but then there's a gap in between.
Yep.
So our coach said, "What are you doing with all the leads?" So, well, if they're not in this neighborhood and this price range, we trash them. He said, "Well, start wholesaling those." So we started wholesaling those and filled the gap. And then he said, "Well, start, being a broker, and adding these other layers." Well, as I added the layers, then all of a sudden I can juggle 3 balls.
Yep.
I learned in college. I
Juggle a 4th.
3. Throw me
Now
a 4th,
what?
and I drop it every time. You throw me a 5th, and we're done.
Yep.
So I'm at 6 now. So I've hired a full-time chief operations officer who happens to be my sister, because she's everything I'm not.
Yep.
Very organized, very systemized, and I'm come and talk to Tim.
Yep.
And she's very make the bread, And then I have 4 acquisitions people, and my next step is to add dispositions people. And then I'm partnering with people like Chris Cates,
Yeah.
who
was just on
had
Spill the
show.
Beans.
Yeah, yeah. And he's a rock star. We talked this morning, we talked yesterday. I mean, we talk every day, and we offset each other with strengths and weaknesses and contacts, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun. And I got to give credit to Legacy, because at the Round Table Hot Seat in Orlando, right, at our last event, they said, "What's your bottleneck?" And I said, "Well, it's operations. It's operations." They said, well, who's doing it? Well, I'm doing it. Well, you're a fool. You know, in a nice way, in a gentle way, in a kind way.
I mean, sometimes we're not that kind, right? Sometimes we're not.
And I said, "You're right. I'm a fool. I'm going to hire." And the week after that event, I hired and brought that big person. I mean, it's a big salary, bonuses, everything.
Tough pill to swallow, right?
I am so excited about it, because all of my coaching business, my wholesale business, my our lead generation business, everything is going to thrive, because my operations personnel is handling the contractors and the finishes and the getting it staged and getting it ready. So my flipping business is pretty much on autopilot right now. And my wholesale business is close. So then I can focus on multifamily, which is why I joined with Legacy, and coaching, which I love to do.
Me too. Yeah.
And we did that today. We had a coaching call today, and there was so much growth on the call.
Yeah, it's cool to see. Right?
So much growth for me and Dusty and Kelly and the students. It's growth. And of course deals, but the growth is the thing. And then the lead generation business, so Chris Cates and I have the Deal Dog business, is phenomenal. And we're signing people up for that and growing that as well.
So explain that. A lot to unpack, a lot of things that I want to hit on. Some key points that you made was like, everybody that you either partnered with or hired that have helped you automate your business and grow your business, you tapped on it, but like they complement you very, very well.
Absolutely.
And they fill the void where you're weak.
Correct.
Right? And they don't dance on your strengths either. Right? They don't tiptoe on where you're strong. You can lead in that portion.
Correct.
And all of us are really good at one thing and really a driver. Not to say that we couldn't do everything, but we're a real driver in a couple of things typically. And we have to get it's more of a draining activity to go and do, for guys like us, to go and do the spreadsheets and the data analysis, the data entry and the bookkeeping and all that kind of stuff. We can do it, but it's more of a drainer. My COO loves spreadsheets and systems and process maps and KPIs and all. And like, I couldn't be on a KPI phone call every single day. There's no chance.
Well, and your COO would not enjoy sitting here talking to you.
No. Right. And he's also not out here on social media, engaging with people and high-fiving and interviewing folks and other entrepreneurs and that. He could do it. It's just a little bit more of a drainer.
And I could do spreadsheets, but they would be bad.
It'd take you longer, right? They might need more fixing up. They might need, it's just, your time is better spent somewhere else. And I think a key to great business partnerships and great business dichotomies is having that spread, making sure you have somebody, because a lot of people, they want to hire someone who they like to do the same things with, right? You have the commonalities with. You don't want to hire somebody, who's a weaker version of yourself. You want to hire somebody who's opposite of you, and that's where I've had a ton of growth as well, is just bringing those A players onto my team. So I think that's an important one. The other thing that you mentioned is, some of these people you've known. Obviously, your sister you've known your whole life, right? And other people. It seems like you've partnered with a lot of different people. Tell me about partnerships. What is your view? What is your stance on partnerships? Good partnerships, and what about bad partnerships?
So with partnerships, I look for mutual benefit and trust, right? And the only way to really know is to do one. So everything initially is done on a JV, like one off.
I love it.
One off. And if it goes well, then it's 2 off, and then it gets to be 4 or 5 off. I'm like, let's solidify this thing. And
I like that. Not getting married. You got to date first. You don't just get married. right out of the gate, the first time you meet somebody, do a couple of deals. And real estate's easy to do a couple of deals, and then you can jump into more of a long-term partnership.
Right.
So that's good. Tell me a little bit about Deal Dog. That's the one I'm not as familiar with. I know it's like a lead gen type thing for people who are wholesaling and flipping houses, right? So tell me a little bit more about it. How did it come about? What is the service?
So Chris Gates, who was on with you, has created this back end kind of picture of a restaurant. There's a back of the house where they're making the food.
Yep.
And there's a front of the house where I'm the maitre d'.
Sure.
And I'm serving the food and seating people. Chris has built the system to generate a ton of leads for his own business. And then he said, we can duplicate this anywhere. Mm-hmm. So we now have 2 Deal Dog partners. So we have Washington, D.C., Charleston, and we're bringing on a couple of South Carolina markets, distinct markets, where we're generating a lot of deals, not leads, deals.
Which is everybody's bottleneck right now in this market is the deal flow. And so you guys are finding great deals.
Yep.
Are the people that you're partnered with, you saying on that side, are they like exclusive territories and they buy these leads from you guys?
Absolutely exclusive.
Yeah.
Define a geographic territory and we target that.
Zip code, city, or what is it?
Yep. Counties and
county?
It depends on the state. You get to Arizona, it's going to be different.
Yep.
But in South Carolina, we can go county, 3 county. Mm-hmm. South Carolina breaks up into 3 county areas pretty easily. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're doing.
Got it.
Yep.
So you guys are running the marketing lead gen. The deals come in. You have your local partner who then works those leads.
Right.
They take down a deal, and you guys have some sort of an equity split on the back end? Is that how that works?
We do. We get
You kind of coach through the whole process, what to do? Yeah.
So Chris is the data guy, he's the lead gen guy, and I'm the coach to get you through the deal. And once the deal is made, everybody gets paid.
Yeah.
Nobody gets paid till the deal is done. Mm-hmm. But everybody gets paid on the deal.
Love it.
Yep.
No, that's great. So you guys, that's cranking away. You guys getting deals obviously here that you guys are working in Charleston.
Right.
You have a couple other markets that you've opened up. What's the goal for that? Is it to expand it nationally?
Nationally,
is there
absolutely.
a bottleneck in the expansion of that?
Not really. Washington, D.C., the DeMarva area, the Delta, Maryland, Virginia area is killing it with that. And we're doing South Carolina now because we understand it and it's comfortable and we feel it. We're about to blow up to, any state with that marketing.
What are you finding? Like, how come you guys are finding deals and nobody, or it's an uphill battle for a lot of other people?
We're hitting it harder. So
you're turning over more rocks, right? Turning over more stones, searching through, opening up more clams, trying to find the pearls, huh?
So I just bought 3 rehab deals in Charleston from a wholesaler, and they're making 25,000 cold calls a month and 25,000 texts. Well, who's getting all the deals?
Yeah.
Volume. So I picked up 3, and so I looked at that and went, why don't we do 25,000 calls in DC and other market? That's kind of the magic number is 10, 15, 20, 25,000 contacts.
Yeah.
You can't do 5,000 and think you're going to get 2 or 3 deals.
It's not enough numbers, huh?
It's not enough.
How many deals does 25,000 get you?
It depends on the market.
Yep.
That's really, my lawyer would kill me if I answered that. So that's really hard to answer.
How about other asset classes? Can you deploy this into multifamily? Can you deploy it into
We're
storage?
already doing a 2.0 where we're doing that same model in multifamily, but we're kind of keeping that right here.
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
the stuff that you guys would want about.
Yeah, Chris and I are working that together.
Love it.
To try to buy 500 doors this year.
Yeah.
Not try to accomplish 500 doors this year. But that's kind of an in-house thing until we're ready to open that.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
No, I think it's in any business, the prospecting is what drives the revenue, and you guys have done a great job prospecting for deals. It feeds, and you're figuring out a way to monetize it too and leverage other people's efforts in that, So you're able to drive deal flow for other people and get compensated on that. You're able to drive deal flow for yourselves. You're able to drive deal flow for obviously buying and flipping anything that you guys want, wholesaling stuff that you don't want to flip, and then listing the stuff that you don't want to take down at all. So it's feeding all the different other businesses.
Right.
What about the money side? How are you generating cash, private money investors and stuff?
We work with some hard money lenders. I have some private money lenders. That's an area where we need to grow, and we will grow.
Yeah.
And I'm planting seeds, and we have kind of a pretty cool vision for how to do a show place. Yeah. To show what a flipped house looks like, what an apartment building looks like, and then invite people in to kind of tour it, and then say, here's the presentation for hard money. That's a concept right now. Yep. That my operations manager brought me last week, and I went, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. So, yeah.
No, I love it, man. I think, the money side is something that you always have to be prospecting for, just like you're doing it on the deal flow side.
Always.
And just being in the right rooms, right? And I mean, there's probably a play. Reaching out to mortgage lenders, reaching out to whoever on getting some money flow coming in, probably similar, and just kind of pivoting your deal dog in another way where you can generate a lot of interested investors into coming in and being private money lenders. That's one of the things. I mean, we have a lot of investors just because we're doing social media and we have that presence and stuff. But we really need to have something that's predictable. Like Deal Dog is I put out 25,000 calls and I'm going to get 5 deals a month out of it or whatever, right? If I put out X number of emails, calls, text messages, or whatever, I want to be able to raise X millions of dollars, and have the predictability aspect of that. I think that is something that we have a little bit of, but I want more predictability, more of put out this, deploy this, get that back, and then now it's just a function of how much money flow do you want, how much deal flow do you want, and you just invest more capital into each of those. Right. So, name off the 6 businesses that you have right now.
So, house flipping, which I've almost completely automated. Yep. Wholesaling, assigning contracts, double closing, which I've 50% automated. Yep. Rental properties, which is almost 100% automated. I don't enjoy that business.
You have third-party management on that?
Yeah.
How many doors?
What's that?
How many doors?
Just like 12.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
But it's not. You want third-party management on that. Like if you're managing your own properties, you are not spending your time doing the things that drive business and drive revenue.
I have never managed a rental property.
Good,
and I don't want to.
And it's really not until you get to probably 30 to 50 doors that it makes sense to even bring it in-house at all and justify salaries and all that stuff. Yeah. But even then, it's a headache, and especially on single-family type stuff or a smaller multifamily, you're still driving around, you don't have the scale. Let third-party management do it. For the price that you pay might seem like it is a fraction. You are losing way more money by not outsourcing that than the cost that they're actually charging you.
Especially if you're running 5 other businesses.
Exactly.
There's no time. And
the opportunity cost is too great.
Yeah. And I love Airbnb short term, but I don't manage it at all. I did, and now I don't. Is that part of your 12 Airbnb? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And those are, of course, the fat. I mean, that's the fat. That's the best.
Yeah. If you're in good areas and you're running it the right way and running it efficiently, it can really generate a lot of revenue for you.
Well, and in Charleston, with the vacation market we have,
it's a great market.
It's a great market for that.
Are yours mostly like the downtown type properties, or do you have stuff out on the islands, or just anywhere? North Charleston?
Yeah.
Really?
In the hood.
Interesting.
And we get great rates and very, very low investment.
Yeah.
It's a niche. It's a really narrow niche.
Yeah.
But I'm giving away my secrets. Nobody knows about that. I mean, it's a very narrow niche.
Who's coming in and staying there? Is it like corporate professionals coming in? Is it people who are actually vacationing?
Young couples in town for vacation type thing.
Just looking for an inexpensive. Comparatively, You go to downtown Charleston, the average room rate in the summer is $450 a night.
And we charge 89 to 109.
Yeah.
But we're in the hood.
But you're getting, I mean, if you're fully occupied, you're at $3,000 a month.
That's right.
What kind of vacancy would you say you run?
2%, 3%.
Really?
I mean, and we paid, I hate to say it on film, we paid $85,000 all in with repairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and then refinanced it and got $30,000 back as a burr. Mm-hmm. And then run it at $3,000 a month.
Yep.
It's hard to cry about that.
Yeah.
Right?
Real quick, one of the things that I'm running into is who's refinancing your single family stuff on short-term rentals? No,
I
it's
have
short-term
3
rental.
people.
You got a few with a 30-year amortization schedule.
Yep.
Are they local banks?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm closing next Thursday on one of those. Yeah.
I think I've been out of the single family game for a while, but then I started buying these very unique properties, right?
Yep.
The island, my mountain house. I have another mainland property that's over near my island that we just contracted today, actually.
I'll hook you up, local guy.
Yeah, and that's one of those uphill. I've just used private money because it's such a pain in the ass dealing with the banks.
I got a great private mortgage broker who has a lender, 4.25 to 5.25.
Okay.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, and they're okay with the short-term rentals.
Bank statement loan, short-term rental. It's all good.
Oh, great.
I got them. I got your hookup.
I love it. They don't worry about tax returns or anything? Here's the thing.
For me, I don't know.
I have a great personal financial statement. I got 800 credit score. I got cash in the bank. But as soon as a residential mortgage lender looks at my banks or looks at my tax returns, I own. It's like they don't understand the game. It's depreciation, right? I own hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate, and just on a natural depreciation
I pay my
schedule.
taxes, but the returns don't show it that way.
Right. And so it offsets a lot of the cash flow, a lot of the other things, and then the other thing is a lot of the properties I bought are value-add projects. So. You buy something, it's oh my gosh, this property didn't make any money. Yeah, no, that's why we got it for 60 cents on the dollar, right? Because it was distressed, it had bad management in place, and needed to be fully renovated, a bunch of the tenants need to be kicked out, and that process doesn't happen right away. And, it takes 12 to 24 months to turn through and cycle through that stuff. So it looks like I've got a bunch of properties that are no good on my tax returns, when the reality is I can show you profit and loss statements and a trailing 12 of how they're performing right now, and they're crushing it because we're at such a low basis. But it's not on my tax return. It hasn't been reflected on my tax returns yet. So it's that's the hurdle I'm running into on a lot of these things.
So what my lender looks at is bank statements.
Yeah.
And he says
money in, money out kind of thing.
In and out, in and out, in and out. He said you make this big number every month. And that's what we're going to base it on, and I can connect you with that.
But you've owned the property. Well, I mean, you've owned the property for a year or whatever. No,
9 months.
Okay.
A year maybe.
But you could show a few months of. Let me show you what the returns are.
You have
money
to
in
show
and money
something.
out. Yeah, there needs to be a little bit of seasoning. But at least it's not 2 years, right? If it's 3 to 6 months, you can really do some damage there. That's great.
My experience is short term is 1 year, and long term is a month.
Wow. If you have an annual lease in place and they're paying, love that.
Yeah,
love that.
Yeah, it's a connection.
Yeah, that would open me up a little bit on some of the stuff, but really, the unique properties for me, that's not really, that's 5% of my portfolio. 95% is the apartments.
Right. Those are fun though. I mean, it's kind of fun.
My team's gonna kill me if you give me easy access to financing on this stuff, and then they're like, "What are you doing, man? Stop buying these things.
Okay.
Let's go back to A and B class apartments."
It's a distraction. I get it. I understand.
So speaking of that, do you find any one of your businesses, and as you grow and expand these other businesses, do you find that any of them are a distraction? That you get to a point where you're like, you know what, this has taken me away from, making up numbers. $500,000 in my flipping business, and I could be making $1 million in my flipping business, and I'm chasing $150,000 over here because of this other business. Have you done any of that? Let's look at the big picture and refine it, or cut something out and addition by subtraction kind of a thing.
Right. That's a great question, and that's like a leadership question. I love it. And that's why I'm in Legacy Family, is so people like you and people at the tables will ask me those questions. Why I'm in Legacy Family. Right.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
I I need somebody to check me because I'm like galloping down the road.
Let's go. Add it onto the plate, you know?
In the wrong direction. So, I mean, the only thing, I looked at my 6 businesses, I'm automating my flipping or delegating to the point where I won't even really know what happens in my flipping business until I get quarterlies. Next step is wholesale, same thing. Next step is rentals are totally automated. I only see income. I have no idea.
Are there monthly KPIs, weekly KPIs, or any other like daily even KPIs, key performance indicators, metrics that you're measuring to make sure that if you need to change course or you need to tighten something up or it's going in the wrong direction, you can look at those metrics right out of the gate and know, is it going in the right direction or is it going in the wrong direction?
In my flipping and wholesaling business, definitely. I mean, those are crystal clear.
Yep.
But I can step back. I don't have to do it. I just have to see it.
Well, they can send you an email once a day or once a week, and you can look at those, and then you can step in or ask questions if they're not.
The rental business is like it's like the racehorse and then the mule. Mm-hmm. You know, the rental business is a mule, but it pulls a lot of weight. Yep. So, I can track that a little more slowly. Yep. And then the coaching business,
especially once it's stabilized and it's refinanced and your cash is back out of it, you got long-term debt in place. Yeah, that's just kind of like, hey, as long as you maintain a 90% occupancy or better and it keeps on cash flow and all costs are covered, I agree with that. And then
we just manage the manager at that point.
Got to still ask questions, right? Because otherwise they're not going to.
And understand. Mm-hmm. Coaching is a passion thing. I mean, I love coaching, and it pays for my boat. Mm-hmm. You know, type of thing. As long as coaching pays for my boat and the marina slip, I'm good. And I hope my coaching students aren't watching this, but that's luxury.
That's why they get to come out with you. You know,
hey, we'll go on the boat.
Some charcuterie on the boat. You know,
right? But seriously, I mean, it's a passion thing. And then the deal dog thing I'm so excited about because I think we're going to just blow that up, and that's going to be very active.
It's very scalable though, you know?
Very scalable, but it's going to require a lot of attention, and I want to be on point with that.
Yeah. And I think any growth business, you know, and new business that you're starting. The good news is you didn't try to start all these businesses at one time.
Right.
You know,
right?
You
8 years,
got a business, automated. Got another business, automated it. And as each one got automated, then you started the next one.
Right.
And everything else is cruising along for you right now. And now it's just all about how do you scale up Deal Dog? And I think any new business, you know, I talked to some of my buddies in the tech business and tech industry, you're thinking like moving fast and cruising. Right. But they're still on a 5 to 10 year time horizon mentally. Right. Whenever I talk to any of them about, you know, when are you starting your other business? Or you want to come in and like advise me on my business? I'm like, no, I got 5 more years left in this, and then I'm going to exit for $1.5 billion, you know? And so it's they're not jumping, right? They're staying steady until it's where it needs to be, but the multiples are insane, you know? Right. And that's a very scalable business, and it can be automated and put a multiple on it where that's something that you could sell like for a lot of money, you know? Wholesaling business, a flipping business, very difficult to monetize and sell it, you know? It can create cash flow, but it's hard to sell
like
something like that.
Owning a mom and pop hardware store.
Yeah, someone's got to work it, you know?
You got to work, somebody has to work it.
Yep.
And I have to check in every day and say, do we have bolts?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
As opposed to some of these other things where they scale. And then our final piece is
there's no inventory. It's just buy more marketing, buy more marketing. And every time you buy more marketing and you tweak it a little bit, it gets a little bit better. Instead of getting 5 deals for every 25,000 calls, you change the verbiage up a little bit and the wording a little bit, or the marketing direct mail piece a little bit, and now all of a sudden you get 6 deals out of every 25,000 pieces, or you know, and you just tweak it. At the more data that comes in, the more feedback you get, like the longer you're into it for, which is really the case with any business, the more refined it becomes, the more successful and profitable it becomes, you know?
Yeah, my secret sauce is relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is your secret sauce.
Yeah, I mean, that's me.
You do a great job with that.
I just like, let me help you do a deal. I mean, I do so many deals with new people, and people are like, God, doesn't that stress you out? And where are you out teaching people? I love teaching people.
Yeah.
I love teaching. And they're like, well, they're going to leave you. I was like, that's the plan.
Yeah.
I want them to do 3, 4, 5 deals with me and then fly.
Yep.
I mean, it's not a matter of, well, you're a jerk, you left me.
Yep.
It's let's do 3, 4, 5 deals and then fly.
Yep. You're not a good coach if you want to help somebody get somewhere and then keep them suppressed right there.
Right,
that's not coaching. That's not leadership by any means. And who knows? Then they bring you an apartment building deal, and you guys joint venture because of the relationship that you've created.
And that's Chris.
Or they refer 2 other people to you to do some deals.
And Chris and I are doing a lot of marketing and have formed relationships because of your influence with the Legacy family. To go multifamily and take all this that we know about single family and 3 units and 4 units and say, what about 47 units? What about 250 units? And that's what I heard.
Much difference,
that's what I heard from you. The first time you got in my head was, it's the same, Russ. I mean, I'm hearing Tim Bratz saying it's the same. It's the same, it's the same. I said, no, it's not the same. And then I go to sleep and I wake up in the morning and go, it's the same. It is the same.
The marketing side's the same. Financing's a little bit different. There's some nuances. Operations, it's actually easier to operate and manage apartments than it is to operate and manage single-family houses and rentals portfolio.
It's very similar.
But it's very similar. No, I mean, totally. I'm just, validating your point of you're just adding some zeros. You add some zeros, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, you realize you play with dollars, you earn dollars. You play with thousands, you earn thousands. And if you play with millions, you'll earn millions. So
we're growing with you, and I appreciate you and
I love
what you put together. It's amazing, and we'll see you in Vegas.
I'm excited to have you there, man. So before we wrap, tell me a little bit about what does the next 12 months look like for you? Where do you see the market going, right? You've been investing for 8 years. You got started when the market was difficult, right? It was a tough market. There were a lot of deals, not a lot of money. But it was hard to mess up a deal because you were buying it for so cheap. And then you've seen this massive growth. You do a lot of coaching. You're in a lot of networking groups. You're hanging out with a lot of people who've been through multiple market cycles also. What are you seeing and what are you looking at over the next 12 months, let's say, and kind of expecting? And obviously nobody has a crystal ball, but what do you think?
My crystal ball's in the shop. I'm having it tuned up.
Good.
But it's either easy to buy or easy to sell in every market. And I came into a market where it was easy to buy, hard to sell. We're the opposite now. The Fed has introduced 1 interest rate hike so far this year, right? Did I hear that right?
They initially said they're going to do 1, and then they just came out saying they're probably going to do 3.
Well, I've heard 3, but 1 is for sure. And then 2 is later, and 3 is after, because they don't want to scare people. But we're going to have 3 this year.
I think so too. And it's like they printed so much money. The only way to combat that is increase interest rates, and then so they have to. So
from my experience, is it's going to get. I mean, this is a thing, because right now it's hard to buy and easy to sell, and then it's going to go easy to buy, hard to sell. I don't care. I adjust my ratio. It's a ratio. I mean, banks do a loan to value. They do a debt to income. What are we but banks? We're investors. We're working money. So you adjust your. It's never right here for long. Right. It's one or the other. And Dusty, I had a call with Dusty and Kelly today, and Dusty and Kelly are my gurus. They're so much far ahead of me. And we talk about it all the time. They're like, you just have to work with what you have. It's always a good time. If we're doing the right things. It's when our mind gets wrong. When it goes wrong.
You stick to those. Timeless investment principles.
Equity. Buy with equity.
Buy it at a discount, so there's instant equity in the deal. Create more equity by putting sweat equity into it, forcing the appreciation. You don't speculate on stuff, right? Buy for cash flow. If the worst case scenario, even if you're flipping a house, worst case scenario, the market tumbles, you can throw a tenant in there and generate enough cash flow on a monthly basis to cover your operating expenses and to cover your debt service, and put a couple bucks in your pocket, you can ride out any economic storm that way, you know?
So I teach all of my coaching students to buy with 30% equity. Single family,
but Russ, that's not realistic in this market.
Bullshit. Pardon my language.
I agree.
Bullshit. I do it every deal. 30% is my minimum equity. And there's a reason for that. Because the lenders are only going to give me 25%. You know, they're going to want 25% down. But if I buy it with 30%, I get 5% cash back when I cash out. And that's what I teach my students. And they're like, well, that's impossible. I mean, hide and watch.
Let me show you this deal. Let me show you that deal.
Cowboy movies, like hide and watch.
Yeah.
You know, hide and watch. Watch what I can do. And watch what you can do. If always, and I spoke to they put me on a panel to speak to a whole real estate agency about investing. And they said, what's the most important thing you can do? I said, establish cash flow and always have equity. Well, how much equity? I said, 25% minimum, 30% preferred. They said, you're crazy. I said, okay, I'm going to go home.
Hold my beer. Watch this.
I'm just going to go home, back to my office and work then if you think I'm crazy.
Let me show you a couple.
The equity is critical in every market. The low market, it's critical because you can't sell. And the high market, it's critical because you can't buy. But you can sell and you can buy. You just always
if you
have
buy at a deep enough discount, you can always move properties. The other thing that I found come full circle is, like, I got started investing. Been in real estate since 2005, but started investing in 2009, and it was a horrible market to raise money in. At least for somebody who was new, who didn't know what they were doing, nobody was giving me any money, so I had to creatively finance a lot of my deals. And then all of a sudden that went away because it was like, hey, you got private money. That was decently easy. You got deal flow that was decently easy. And it was just kind of some low-hanging fruit for a few years there, where I was just kind of flipping, and I didn't really need to creatively finance anything. And then all of a sudden, with the market getting as hot as it has been, I'm like, how can I get the seller their price point and me still get the terms that I'm looking for? So I've brought creative financing and a lot of the strategies that I used way back then into my deals now, and just kind of creatively structuring them in a way gets a seller their price point on terms that actually still make sense to me, where I can buy it, but I don't bring any of my own money. I'm not paying my investors 10%, and it boosts my cost of capital up. And instead I get them to seller finance it, or I structure it in a way that makes a lot of sense for everybody. But to your point, man, I got my mountain house that you've been to on Zillow. On Zillow, like that, I could sell that tomorrow for $6 million, and I'm into it for 3.1.
That's nuts.
And I bought it.
That's good for you.
Less than 12 months ago. You know,
equity.
My island.
That's equity.
Bought my island for $2.5 million.
One of my favorite fishing spots. I've been fishing there for 30 years.
That's right. You got a bunch of family and stuff down there.
My family's in Beaufort and Hilton Head and Bluffton.
I got to show you the mainland property that I'm buying.
All right, I just contracted. We'll go for a boat ride.
Oh man, you're gonna be like, wow. And by the way, I got the mountain house seller finance. I got the island seller finance in this market at 4% interest only for 5 years.
But you can't do that, Tim. That's impossible.
Hold my beer, right? Watch me. This other house, I got seller finance at 5% interest rate for 5 years, interest only.
No, it's impossible.
Right?
You can't do that
in this market.
Not in this market.
For a turnkey, beautiful property, And so, if you're willing to ask, you just got to put it out there. You just got to be talking to people. Say, hey, seller, I'll give you your price point. One of the couples that's in Legacy Family, they're buying self-storage facilities, right? And they came across a deal. I can't remember what the exact price. Let's call it $5 million. And the seller wanted like $5.3 million. And it's not worth that, right? Retail price is worth $5 million, but there's room to bump rents, all this other stuff. He got the seller to finance 100% of it, gave him $5.3 million, but got him to seller finance at a 2.5% interest rate for 30 years.
It's free.
For 30 years, right?
Free.
So in that scenario, sometimes it does make sense to just pay retail price, because you have, I'm sure he's structuring it with non-recourse debt.
Right.
fixed rate, long term, almost no interest rate on it at all, right?
Right.
And he knows how to operate it, and he knows how to bump rents, and he knows eventually it makes sense, So I think there's a few things that you can do, again, buying at a discount, creating value through that sweat equity, making sure that it'll cash flow, which his does, or putting the right structure and financing in place to make it make sense,
right,
where it eliminates any downside risk if it's structured that way. I think can really set you up, man, and have a lot of success moving
When you're
forward.
creating your own equity with the cheap financing.
Exactly.
Because what I'm saying is,
Great point.
if you're
Great
going to
point.
pay cash or borrow the money, you better have the equity chunk in there to protect you from the fall.
Right.
Because we're going to fall.
Yep.
I mean, we fell in '08. We're going to fall again, and
Markets are cyclical.
whenever.
Right.
But if you can create, I mean, inflation is now, I saw 6.8.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
I mean,
I bet it's more. I mean, I've seen
So-
wages go up a lot more than 6%
if you
in the
can
past
borrow
year.
money at 2.8,
Yeah.
and inflation is 6.8, there's your equity.
Free money.
There's your equity.
Exactly.
So-
Especially on a rental property.
All
you know?
I'm saying is don't pay full price and full, I mean, you can't do a
a great
5% mortgage or a 4% mortgage and pay full price.
Mm-hmm.
I see those deals all the time, like, not a deal.
Yep.
You need that cash equity or the credit equity.
Yep.
And what you're describing is credit equity.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Right.
I love it.
So, yeah.
I love it. Well, it's exciting stuff.
Cool.
What does the next 12 months look like for you personally as a goal setting? And what would you like to accomplish between now and the end of the year?
So between now and the end of the year, I really want to enable my sister, who's my operations manager now, to run the flipping business and eventually the wholesale business, which is my core, and enable me to coach more, do more deal generation, and buy multifamily, which is why I came
Love it.
to the Legacy Crew in the first place.
Love it.
Is to convert my pretty deep knowledge of how to do single family, 3, 4, 6 units into let's buy 500 units. Why wouldn't I have 500?
Yep.
So that's the goal.
And you're absolutely right, man. I don't think there's anybody that couldn't pick up. I mean, even if somebody's starting out 10 doors in their first year,
Yeah.
and somebody who's got a little bit of experience, there's no reason anybody couldn't get 100 doors
Right.
their first year, going from, assuming they have some experience and getting into multifamily. It's absolutely feasible. I would have that debate, have that conversation with anybody. I truly believe that's
Yep.
something that can happen for anyone. Just something I'm thinking about as we're sitting here talking is, like, you joined Legacy Family, our mastermind, about nine months ago-ish,
Yeah.
something like that.
Right.
And the whole idea, everybody's goal setting in January, and here's all the things we want to accomplish. We all overestimate what we can accomplish in 12 months and underestimate what we can do in 3 to 5 years. And I've seen that over and over again in my own business, thinking, man, I didn't accomplish everything that I wanted to over the past 12 months.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, I look over the past 3 years and I'm smoking my midterm kind of goals, my 36-month goals. I'm like, wow, that it's amazing. And one of the things that I'm noticing with you came in to do multifamily.
Yep.
You haven't really done any multifamily in 9 months.
Right.
But what the mastermind has helped you do is automate all your other businesses, so now you could focus on multifamily.
I needed to stabilize what I have.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to throw away what I have.
Which is
I have good stuff.
more important than just jumping into multifamily, because
I have good things going.
Yeah, I
but
love that.
I want to get these calluses off my hands and stabilize that business and then grow from there. And it's been beautiful. I mean, working with you and the Legacy Family Group,
Yep.
and all the people I've met that I can engage with and look in their eyes like I look in your eyes and say, how do I go from where I am to where I want to be? And they're just like an open book. Like,
Yep.
well, the steps we did, I'm not going to give you advice, but what I did is boom, boom, boom. And with you as an inspiration and the rest of us talking like, yeah, how we're going to implement. But it's helped me to really put that foundation down.
Love it.
So I'm good.
I love it.
And then everything else is growth.
I love it. It's one of those, hey, refine, structure, automate, put the right people in place, and you're setting a great foundation, right? And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is what empires are built on, right? If it was a shaky foundation, nothing was really in place, you can't really build a big tower or a big empire on top of that. But now that you have a great foundation in place, dude, I can't wait to see what you guys do over the next 12 to 24 months.
Well, I'm 20 years older than the rest of you, so I'm starting here, starting where I am.
Hey,
right?
That's not an issue at all.
So if you're watching this and you're starting where you are, start where you are.
You got 20 more years of relationships, 20 more years of experience, 20 more years of all the other good stuff, So that means it's going to let you, it's going to allow you to grow that much faster.
But start where you are.
For sure.
Right.
For sure. Dude, it's always a great time having a conversation with you. I appreciate you being here, brother.
Absolutely.
And just excited to see the growth.
Yeah.
All right, really, really good stuff. Super proud of what Russ has built over the past couple of years. He built multiple businesses, was making great money, but really he was working in the businesses. He's been able to really elevate himself out of it by putting the right systems and processes and people in place to automate some of those businesses so he can focus on some other ones. So he's a coach of entrepreneurs and real estate investors, but he's also very coachable, right? And that's a huge distinction of people who are very successful versus people who are too stubborn to go down that route. So super proud of him. He's a rock star. If you're not connected with him, make sure that you shoot him a message or follow him and friend him on Facebook and Instagram. Stay connected with him because he's just a great human being. So hopefully you got some value out of this. If you did, please give me a like, hit the little notifications bell so you can get posted on new episodes of Spilling the Beans as we release them every Sunday. And then we have other content that always drips out throughout the week as well. If there's something that you would like to see or hear me talk about or do a video about, shoot me a message. Put it in the comment section below and I'll specifically do a video answering any questions that you have about entrepreneurship, personal finance, real estate investing, lifestyle design, anything along those lines. I'm open to ideas, concepts, would love to hear what you guys want to hear about, and I'll give you my take on it. So appreciate you guys. Until next time, I'll see you on Spilling the Beans.